How come some players are caught offside all the time? Do they not know better, or is the other team doing some tricks to get them there? Let's do a complete analysis of how to set offside traps and how to avoid getting into one. We'll talk about the types of offside traps you can do as defenders, and soccer hacks on how to avoid getting caught into them. But firstly, let's define what offside is. When an attacking player that is involved in the play is closer to the opponent's goal line than both the ball and the second last defender at the moment the ball is passed to them, the referee gives a free kick against the attacking team at the spot where the player received the ball. Let's unpack that a little bit. The line we are measuring is a straight line parallel to the goal, not the shortest distance. The second last defender rule includes the goalkeeper, which means that if the goalkeeper has run out, then we need another defender between the attacker and the goal to be a legal position. Finally, the moment of decision is when the ball is passed, not when the ball is received. Therefore, the player in offside has to be part of the play, meaning that if that player is not receiving the ball or interfering with the play, it is not an offside. Also, if the ball is ahead of the player that will receive it, then it cannot be offside because the offside line cannot be behind the ball. There are also several exceptions to the offside rules. A player is not offside if they are in their own half of the field at the moment of the pass being sent. Also, the player is not offside if the pass is sent from a goal kick, corner kick, or throw-in. However, the offside rule holds when it is a pass from a free kick because of a foul, for example. Now back to offside traps. What can be done by defenders to leverage this rule? When the defending team anticipates a pass, the last defenders can step up and move the imaginary line of offside up. That way the receiving player will be in an illegal position even if they don't move. We are not talking about attackers being oblivious of being in offside or making a run way too early, but a deliberate plan to put an attacker in an offside position. There are essentially 3 ways to create offside traps. Let's start with the simplest one, because it depends only on one defender. However, that player has to be the last player on defense. Say we are in a 2v1 situation. The defender keeps giving up space and only slightly slowing down the player with the ball. The defender needs to make it look as if it is back enough for the player without the ball to be onside. Then the defender identifies that the dribbler kicked the ball too far and cannot make a quick pass. The defender sprints forward to create a pressing 1v1 situation with the ball playing attacker because a pass will be essentially an offside situation. The defender has to stay tight on them, because the time where this 1v1 situation will be available is small, as the other attacker will come back onside in the meantime. Similarly, if there is a pass back, the defender should step out to leave that player in offside. The second type of offside trap is when the entire team does this, usually coordinated by the back line of defenders. The anchors that define the offside line are the 2 central defenders in a back line of 4, or the middle central defender in a back line of 3. As we talked in other videos about positionings, one player is always the aggressor and the other one is the cover. The aggressor often tries to stop the striker from receiving the ball to their feet, so the striker might want to make a run behind them. The cover drops deeper to anticipate any through pass, and often that means that the striker will not be in offside. However, if the cover sees that a sprint forward will leave the striker in offside instead of dropping even deeper and allowing a 1v1 situation. The special case for offside traps is the set pieces. While coordinating the offside traps looked complicated in the previous examples, set pieces are usually simpler. The defenders form a line and the player closest to the ball is the anchor. When the ball is about to be crossed to the penalty area, the defenders often drop to make sure it's safe. However, if well coordinated, the defenders can actually step up and leave most of the players in offside. We have seen that many times done by professional teams, often leaving over half of the other team in offside situation. However, they need to be very careful that somebody from the opponent team that was not in offside has not made a run. The extra special case is the corners. While there are no offsides from corners, once the ball is delivered, the defenders often need to step forward quickly, so that any danger from second ball or third ball will be considered offside. This might mean that from an initial 7v8 situation inside the penalty area, it will become a 4v8, which is much easier to defend. How do you beat an offside trap? That is the fun part, where a player is behind the offside line when the pass starts, but they receive the ball behind it, essentially moving the offside line forward. Firstly, we will give several scenarios about how you can beat it individually by doing the correct runs. Then we will talk about how you can help your teammates beat the offside trap without touching the ball. Finally, we will talk about genius team plays that we have seen to beat the offside traps. The simple timed run is like this. The player makes an average run, then changes pace and direction, and the ball is sent into space. It's simple, it works when executed correctly, but that's not always easy. What is often easier is make this run on the flanks, because defenders tend to stay compact in the middle of the field. In fact, a typical overlapping or an underlapping run comes with a pass into space that essentially moves the offside line. Instead, what sometimes happens is that the player runs, but doesn't get the ball on time. The player then has to keep the pace, but must not get into offside. So changing direction again until the right moment to sprint behind is needed. Note that the defenders will hold the line, so they will not be able to catch up. However, sometimes it's too late and the player passed the offside line. In the mind of the defenders, they are often gone, but that's not the case always. We have seen many players getting back onside just for a moment, but then with pace get back forward. Sometimes we see players making runs that will never get the ball for. It might look weird, but then you see that the offside line got moved just because of that run. That allows a player somewhere else close to the offside line to not be offside. Another option is that the player will run too early into offside position, then a ball will look like it's coming towards them, which will make everybody think it's a clear offside situation. Instead, the player doesn't touch the ball and another runner comes and picks it up. Now, if we know that it is much easier to beat the offside trap in the wide areas, how can we use that in our advantage? We have seen the striker often lurk slightly into offside with the hope that they can jump onside in the right moment, then sprint forward. Or that the wide player can drag their defender and move the offside line. However, the top teams wouldn't do that. Instead, what they do is that once the ball is passed into space on the wings to beat the offside, the striker is no longer offside, but is ahead of the opponents, and in simple cross becomes an easy goal. Coaching offside traps is not easy. It comes with lots of talking to the players throughout the years of their development. However, as the offside rule is not intuitive, we need to expose the players to it a lot. In addition to playing games, I recommend my players to also watch games and often watch the professional or more senior teams play, but only focus on the offside lines. In fact, what has worked very well for young players is when they are assistant referees, because all they need to focus on is that offside line. Of course, they can combine that with playing soccer video games and offsides will become second nature to them. The simplest thing is to set a 2v1 plus a goalkeeper, but make sure you remind them that the offside rules hold. Alternatively, you can have a 3v2, but also with offside rules. A slightly more complex situation will be a 5v4 plus a goalkeeper with offside rules. However, limit the game to one touch inside the penalty area for the attackers. That way the final step will almost always have to be a pass and not a shot. There you have the comprehensive guide for offside traps, how to set them and how to get away from them.
Have fun at the field!